Hey everyone, so this is Brandon Johnson again. I'm continuing my series of creating resources for the Black community as we deal with COVID-19 on top of dealing with the widespread racism and discrimination that we're currently seeing in our country. And so today I wanted to create a video for our parents to talk about how we can support our Black youth during this time. For those who don't know, I'm a dad. I'm a dad of two. I have a 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. And so I really wanted to, use this time to connect with parents and talk about how we can support our youth. To give you some context, we are experiencing some troubling things in our community with our Black youth as it pertains to their mental health. So one of the things that we've been seeing is that there's an increase in suicide rates of our younger children between the ages of 5 and 12. Really disheartening statistic. But what we've also noticed is that in the white community of the same age range, their suicide rate has gone down. So this is especially alarming. Another thing that we're seeing is that in our Black adolescents, they are reporting more suicidal ideation, which means suicidal thought, and also suicide attempts. And most notably, suicide attempts that lead to a medical intervention, such as having to go to urgent care or needing to go to the emergency room. So this is some really telling data, and so we want to be able to support our youth and to help them to thrive. And so our support, our nurturing, our advocacy are all very important to helping our youth to maintain their mental well-being during this time. And so many of us right now are really in the fight to dismantle systems that have oppressed our people, including our youth. And so we're tackling things such as equity in healthcare, in education, addressing the criminal justice issues and criminal justice reform. And so what we also want to do is during this time while we're out battling and fighting is to make sure that we are also keeping an eye on the mental health of our young people. So I thought what I could do is just walk through a couple ways to be supportive of our youth during this time and offer a couple suggestions as well. And I hope these are helpful. So first thing, ask them how they're doing. So I mentioned before, I am a parent. I know that typically if you ask them, how are you doing? You may get, fine, things are cool. You may ask them, how was your day today? What did you do? And kids may say, no, nothing, despite being, out with their friends or, in school for 6 or 7 hours in a day. But what it does is that it lets them know that you care. And it also helps them to know that if there is a time that they want to reach out, if there is a time that they want to talk and share what they're going through, that they know where to go. One of my friends who works in education gave me a strategy for this as well. And so another question you can ask is, what are the three emotions that you felt the most today? So it may come off weird at first. It feels weird to ask that, and they may not know how to answer it, but it may get them thinking about their emotions, their feelings. It may get them to check in with themselves to feel, to answer that question of, how did I feel today, or what was going on today? It may definitely break down some feelings of, that they can't articulate their feelings and emotions. And so it may normalize those self-check-ins. The second thing that I wanted to mention is be aware of any changes in behavior, right? Many of us have gotten more time with our youth during COVID-19 because many of us are home, they're out of school. And so we've had that ability to interact with them more, which may be stressful some days, but it definitely puts us in a position to learn more about our kids. So if you're noticing their behavior is changing, if they're becoming more irritable, more aggressive, taking more risk than normal, check in with them, see what's going on and see how they're feeling. And if they don't necessarily want to talk to you, encourage them to talk to another trusted adult, to talk to one of their close friends, to really let them know that there are outlets for them to talk about what they're feeling. The next thing, if they are willing to share, listen without judgment. Parents, I know that this can be difficult. We want to be everything to our kids. We want to, save them, to help them, to jump in and make sure everything's okay. But if we do that while they're trying to share their feelings, they may shut down the next time. They may close up or feel like they're not being heard. So there are some ways and some techniques that we can use to make sure that they know that we're hearing them as they are talking about what they're going through. So affirm their feelings, empathize with them, repeat what you heard from them for clarification, and also to let them know that you heard them. For example, if they're like, they're expressing something that happened in school, for you to come back and say, okay, so it sounds like you're saying X, Y, and Z. Is that right? Like, did I get that right? That can help to let them know, like, yes, you heard me. Like, I feel heard. You're listening. You're not just saying this, just to say it, to check a box, but you really care. That can be very impactful moving forward for providing a safe space for them. Yes, the next one, yes, talk to them about racism and discrimination. This is so critical, especially in this time, as we're watching things play out across the country. Our youth aren't in a bubble where they don't experience racism and discrimination. And so quite recently, last week, my wife found an Instagram page where recent grads and adults were talking about their racist experiences at 3 Baltimore City private schools. And so they talked about what they experienced, and it varied. It came from, stores in the neighborhood, their teachers, their peers. It could have been something that they said that was stereotypical or embarrassing. And so many of these people talked about things that happened in elementary school when they were very young. And these are adults that talked about the impact of what it had on them throughout their lives. And so they experience these things, and we want to be able to give them the outlook that they need to talk about that and express that. So a couple things to do with this: believe them. Take their word for what happened. These are their experiences. Comfort them, advocate for them. Advocacy is really great and can actually build relationship. For a child to see their parent, someone that they love, and they trusted, they went out on a limb and told them something, and the parent advocated for them, it can give them hope that the situation can change. It lets them know that they're loved and supported as well. So definitely be there for them, advocate for them. The last thing I'll mention, take care of yourselves. As parents, we put our kids before ourselves often, but it's so critical for us to make sure that we have what we need so we're able to take care of them in the way that they need. Oftentimes if you've flown, hopefully every time that you've flown, they do a demonstration where they talk about, in a case of an emergency, the oxygen mask may fall. And their instructions are to equip yourself with the oxygen mask first before trying to help someone else. So we want to make sure that we're okay, we're taken care of, we're our best selves and best versions of ourselves so that we can take care of them. If you need some extra support on how to do that, if you look at my previous video on my YouTube page, I do a video that talks about self-care during these times, specifically for Black adults. And so definitely check that out if you need that. And it can also help some patience levels. So it can help that adult-child dynamic as well. So this is what I wanted to give and put down. Our kids need our support. They need our love. They need us, and they need you. So if you need any additional assistance, please reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Also, the crisis text line is available and may be a resource for our kids. The Black Mental Health Alliance can help you find a Black therapist.